Max, thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate you letting me come harass you.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming. I know you came to New York, to New Jersey. I appreciate it. Seriously, I do.
It has been a whirlwind type of journey, but that's what we all have. We all have these journeys, right?
Of course. Absolutely.
And so I appreciate just the opportunity of sitting down and hearing a little bit more about your journey and what you're building with your agency. But I want to go back, though.
Absolutely.
Let's go back to growing up.
Start.
And why sports became so important to you and how?
A few different ways. Obviously, playing sports growing up like most guys do. I played all different from basketball, hockey, football, soccer, baseball. Obviously, some you're better than others at. But more importantly to me, I think, what's very unique in my situation, I grew up in this sports representation industry. My father was a agent for about, on the football side and on the marketing side for about 12 years, started off in the late 90s. And his situation was also very unique. He was great at marketing, but it wasn't something that he was really looking to do on the sports representation side. An organic opportunity of managing Lawrence Taylor's sports bar in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, is what opened his door. His first
that's a unique opportunity.
Very, very. And his first major opportunity was getting Lawrence into Any Given Sunday. The motion picture with Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of what jump-started his career. Then started representing Tiki and Rondé Barber, who were both perennial Pro Bowlers for the New York Giants and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So for me, kind of growing up around that and being, when you're in middle school and high school and being from northern New Jersey, right? And being a Giants fan by nature. And then having somebody who's essentially like family to you, as Tiki Barber was the New York Giants in the early 2000s. He was the face of the team. He was like we said, a perennial all-pro caliber running back during his final tenure with the Giants. And, me being such a football guy by nature and seeing that's it absolutely was a big reason why I wanted to get involved in this industry, along with, being a younger kid and going to Pro Bowls in Hawaii and sitting with your favorite players and kind of just experiencing those differentiated opportunities that most kids would never get to experience in their wildest dreams.
And so it seems to me then that, this is the only life you've ever known.
Correct. It's crazy. It's something that any of my friends, family, they always knew me specifically. I was going to be in this industry. I have a younger brother and sister, both different interests. My sister is working her way on the PR side of things and figuring out her way, and my brother on the real estate side. But anybody who knew me personally always knew that, hey, he's going to end up in the sports representation industry.
Now, are they big sports fans as well?
Absolutely. Again, just being around that, I think it's something that you just organically grow into. But my brother and I are very close, and he's definitely a big sports fan. But it was never a passion of his to want to get into this business. Whereas for me,
not from a career standpoint.
Correct.
Now, was the whole family Giants fans?
Yeah, my father.
Are you in trouble if you?
No. It was lucky, I think.
For the Giants.
Correct. My dad grew up in Paramus, New Jersey. And for him, he was just a huge sports fan by nature. I think for him, once this became his career, I don't think he cared so much about the teams. And I think that's something for me as well. And, representing X amount of guys in the NFL, you follow all them and you root for all their teams. Sometimes, if you got a client playing your favorite team and it's a unique situation, but from a standpoint, we all had similar interests when it came to like the teams in the New York, New Jersey area, from the Rangers to the Giants to the Yankees. And on the basketball side, it was unique because I was kind of a Nets fan. I know
that's odd.
The J kid, but they were the New Jersey Nets at the time, right. Continental Arena, right by MetLife Stadium. So we all had similar passions when it came to the team perspective.
Yeah, well, from the New Jersey Nets side, when I was assistant coach at Fairleigh Dickinson University,
which is still crazy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the worlds come together from that side of things, and life comes full circle. But I also had to supplement my income.
Of course.
And so I did ticket sales for the New Jersey Nets.
Really?
And I can't tell you, I sold a lot of White Castle family night ticket packages.
I love it. I love it. That was a big opportunity back then.
I know that arena very well.
It was a big
at the
opportunity
time.
back then. Absolutely.
That's right. But I also know that in New Jersey, to your point, I mean, you're the allegiances. It's either one or the other. You can't waffle between the different teams. You better pick one side, and that's it.
A lot of people have opinions if you do waffle in between. The Giants have more or less run New York sports on the football side of things at least as far as I can remember and paying attention to it. And I think that's also why people in New York are kind of excited about the Jets right now. The Giants have a lot of, we'll say, adversity and a lot of different things I think they're going through in a roster rebuild and kind of shaking certain things up. And I think for the Jets, having some of these young, talented players that are very exciting and, having finally some real pieces to the puzzle where, they can go win 8, 9, 10, 11 games and kind of shake it up in terms of how people view New York football.
No, there's definitely some excitement for the Jets.
No question.
New regime, everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's all
a whole different dynamic.
Now, what about baseball? Were you a baseball fan?
To be honest, it's funny. I got a lot of very good friends who are big baseball fans. I personally, it was just never something I truly got into. Of course, I've watched the Yankees my whole life. I was a big Derek Jeter fan growing up. When A-Rod was playing, I was a big fan. Bernie Williams, Tino Martinez, David Cohn, all the late 90s, early 2000s guys as a kid. But as I really started to gravitate more towards football and basketball and even hockey from a standpoint, just a great sport to watch from a spectator. When it's live, it's phenomenal. And that's been something I've always paid attention to. But football and basketball have just been the bread and butter for me. And, even it goes full circle from a family perspective. My future brother-in-law played in the AHL for 9 to 10 years. My other future brother-in-law on the younger side has played for Don Bosco. He's one of the top prospects in the country on the defensive side for hockey. So, they've been like family for over 8, 9 years now. So to me, kind of just having all these different allegiances internally, baseball has just kind of been on the back burner compared to everything else. Correct.
Now, what about as you're in a sports agency, you talk about the fan and, how things kind of shift. So can you even be a fan now?
Yes and no. I think it's more so, fortunately I do have a few clients on the New York Giants, which has definitely helped out. And for the better part of my career being in this business, I've had clients on there. So I've been able to still pay attention and keep up with it. But also, as a fan and a football guy by nature and being in the business, I try and be very realistic in terms of my view on certain teams, certain players. Obviously, you can't be as vocal because of certain situations.
That's right.
But there's definitely, I definitely remained a fan. And even aside from, the guys I represent who are a lot of them are very, very, well-known players, guys. All my clients are, really intricate parts of their teams. But at the same time, I've still remained fans of other players too. And I respect talent. And I think for me, again, being so observing to what the NFL talent-wise has produced over the last 5 to 8 years, seeing guys like, obviously we know what Tom Brady has done from overall greatness, but I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan. And I respect the hell out of, from a sheer talent standpoint, the way he plays the quarterback position when healthy is remarkable. Seeing guys like I can name a dozen wide receivers in today's game that are just like athletically, like, wow, what DeAndre Hopkins can do with his hands, what Odell Beckham does, in a single game-changing moment. Antonio Brown, Julio, AJ Green, and then even the running backs and the versatility. And that's why even though he was, like family, he was my father's client. That's why I respected Tiki's game so much as a kid, because he was so versatile. And he was a big reason why a lot of these running, what Le'Veon Bell does is similar to what Tiki did back in the day. His vision on the field, how he can hit a hole, his versatility from pass catching. Tiki averaged 50, 60 catches, 500, 600 yards a season, in the last 4 years of his career. He averaged 2,000 yards, from scrimmage annually for 4 years. It's never been done before. He has the second most yards from scrimmage, aside from Marshall Faulk in a single season back in 2005. So I've always really paid attention to talent. And I think that's something, even though being in the business and not being able to really root directly for a team, I still love seeing guys do their thing on the field.
Yeah, and I think you talk about Tiki Barber. He's got to be one of the most underrated running backs we've seen in the past 15 years. I mean, it's amazing. He was on the forefront of what some of these guys are doing.
Absolutely.
Today. So do you miss being a true fan now?
Sometimes I do, but a lot of times when I'm not on the road traveling to see clients, I still try and get to as many Giants games as I can. And again, it works out that I do have clients there, but it definitely, just from a standpoint of a fan, just being able to cheer your team, your hometown team, it's that I do miss a little bit.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to get to a point where you were okay not cheering?
I think once I kind of really saw this, the trajectory of what my career could be, and, what I was doing in the industry, and, saying, what, I get to work in the industry that I love most, and, being such a big NFL fan. College football is incredible. One thing is I've never gotten as much into college as I do the NFL. Of course, from a standpoint of my profession, I have to pay attention to it. But the NFL to me was always the bread and butter. That was always my favorite. Sundays all day long, Monday Night Football all day long. So I think when I kind of really started to see where things were moving, I said, okay, you know what? I could swallow the pill of not being able to just be a diehard Giants fan and just be a general fan of football and talent and observe from that standpoint.
So how early on was it that you knew you wanted a career in sports and doing maybe not exactly what your dad was doing, but something similar?
I think it was probably, I would say it was probably a even as crazy as it sounds, as elementary school, and seeing some of that stuff and seeing what that entailed. But then obviously, you grow up a little more. You become a little more cognizant of the parameters and the logistics around you, and the different pieces, resources that were coming into play that I was growing up around, and seeing the sort of people that I was being accustomed to being around. And I think by the time I was in middle school, if not, late middle school, early high school, experiencing, like I said, going to these Pro Bowls and seeing what that was like, and being around these players, and, watching my father cultivate business relationships with athletes, with brands, with the internal personnel, just kind of seeing that dynamic. I'm like, yeah, this is all me. This is all me. My attributes, I know how to talk. I know how to sell. And being able to really understand the market and understand the NFL as a whole and have those kind of attributes, I think has been a big reason why I've always had that passion.
And how did your dad view it? Did he, I guess, encourage you to have a career in this, or did he give you advice?
Absolutely.
As far as, wait a second, let's make sure.
Of course,
this
is what you want to do, and you understand what you're getting into, no question. And I think that's been a really positive part of where things are now, is having him as a mentor, but not a boss. And not, obviously I've worked with him not only on various clients now that he represents that I assist on, or vice versa, but more so the fact that I'm able to learn from him and lean on him, but not have to do it in a way where he's got to carry me, shoulder a load of making sure I know this business, making sure I can carry my own personal weight. And I think it was something he knew that I was good at it, was passionate about it. And ever since, of course, any chance he can, he helps me. And I love that. And also what I think is very unique is, when he started on this side of the business, and was doing a lot on the marketing front, it's differentiated so much over the last 15 years.
I can only imagine.
15 years. It's such a new ball game. So what I think is also cool, I think I've also been able to assist him in understanding the new market and bringing different value to his clients that may be retired and he wants to do more and amplify their personal brands. I think because of what we have access-wise now, from, all these social platforms, digital marketing, affiliate marketing, analytics, and where that is and why, it's not as easy as, hey, I'm a football player, you should have your brand endorse me and, tap me as an exclusive ambassador. There's so much more competition now because you have these affiliates that are going to work on a commission structure. You have influencers that have micro targeted demographics, fitness, automotive, apparel, clothing, et cetera, all these different industries. So there's a lot more competition there. So you got to really know, you got to be creative. You got to be able to bring in different components that most people aren't bringing in now. So I think that's also been nice that I get to show him some of the nuances and the millennial thoughts that come into today.
Yes, because it's not just going to the Pro Bowl. That sounds fun. That sounds nice, but there's a big grind.
Very different. There's a lot more to it. A lot more to it. The traveling component, being on the road late nights, it's not a normal 9 to 5. That doesn't mean that, I work 18-hour days every day, but there's plenty of days that I'm taking calls at 10, 11 o'clock at night. And it's something that from a family perspective that your family has to be very, aware and open to knowing what they're signing up for, because it's a very different industry. I don't take it away from anybody, because a lot of industries, I think in 2019 are unique with that component, that it's not just your typical 9 to 5, but this is a whole new ballgame in what it offers and what it brings.
I'm a firm believer in what I call, you don't work to a time, you work to a standard. And sometimes that standard is working till midnight.
Right.
Sometimes that standard might be that you're done at 11 o'clock in the morning one day.
Right.
But it's, again, you're working to the standard, that quality that you're putting out there.
Absolutely.
And I know you've been obviously working on that. So when did it hit you then that you wanted to have your own agency and start? I mean, you're building a company.
Yeah. It's been incredible over the last year and a half. I took the necessary steps and I learned. I give credit where it's due all the time, and I'm the type of person, and I really appreciate people along the way. Whether not all relationships work out right in business, so sometimes you can look back, reflect, and say, even though it didn't work out, still appreciate the opportunity and the time spent and what you learned. Some people I learned from on how to really sell, because again, it's not just the creativity. You got to add different components to it, right? So being able to understand the sports business and then sell it, and how I learned that from one of my mentors back, 6-7 years ago and change, or the opportunity with the business I worked at prior to starting Maxx Management, and learning different initiatives and being to leverage that into what you're doing and how you want to build your company. And that's been a major thing. And I knew, I would say at the end of my tenure there, as much as, I was looking into other opportunities with larger agencies, right? Whether it was going to be as a marketing coordinator, an executive assistant, a director of partnerships, director of client management, whatever those opportunities that I was viewing had, between my father recommending it to me and me seeing the opportunity at hand, I knew in this business, you're better off, for the most part, being on your own, being in your own business. I don't take anything away of, getting an opportunity to work under some of these, we'll say, some of the guys that are pioneers to the industry and what they've been able to do. Of course, the value in that is remarkable. But how many situations are you in where year over year, you got to prove your worth, you got to do X, you got to do Y. And a lot of the times it's not going to be very beneficial to your skill set or be beneficial to what you're trying to do. And being able to kind of see the industry and that outlook, I knew that I had a unique opportunity and run with it. The worst case was, God forbid it doesn't work out. You can always go work for somebody else. But to not take that chance with the resources and the opportunity at hand was something I just wasn't willing to pass up.
Have you always felt that you're a risk taker?
I think so. I try and flirt with the line of being.
So it's calculated risk.
Yes, calculated risk. Well said. You don't want to be too out of control where you're just, doing whatever, whenever, without having true thought process behind it. But at the same time, especially in a business that I knew and what I already felt like could be accomplished, it was worth the calculated risk of trying to start this business.
Did you ever have people tell you, you're crazy, you can't do this?
I think a lot of people maybe...
Or at least question.
I think people definitely questioned it to an extent, but a lot of people who knew me and anybody's opinions I valued. And again, I don't want to hear, don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what I need to know. Tell me what is relevant to the conversation that is really essential that I understand. Mm-hmm. And I think what people had told me actually was given my experience, the question mark was, you're still very young. You're in your mid to late 20s. It's
you're a millennial.
Running your own company, no question. It's a big risk, but knowing your passion for it, knowing what you have at your disposal, it's not the craziest thing in the world whatsoever. And, little by little, it became even more apparent that it was going to be the right move for me, and it has become the right move for me. And also, to me, it's not only about making money, but it's earning respect, whether it's peers in the business, friends, family, and people actually understanding like what I've gone through to build this company, and what a lot of people go through to build their own company, and which is why as a business owner, I respect the hell out of so many people that take a risk. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Thus far, I've been on the more fortunate side, and it showed me how much determination, courage, passion goes into this.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Important. Not at all.
I know.
Especially when you're building out a team too. It's one thing to, one thing to build your own business and create opportunity. It's a whole nother thing then to manage a team and cultivate different relationships internally and be able to structure it accordingly and kind of handle all those logistics. And that's something else that I've really been able to understand over the last few months or few years.
Well, there's more to it when you have other people involved than just yourself.
Correct, because it's not, to me, even in an industry that so much could be done by me personally, how can I scale from there? How do I elevate from there if I'm looking and thinking that this is going to be me and me only? It's not realistic.
What do you remember as far as when you started? What was your first big win that you felt, that was a great sense of accomplishment, what we just did?
It's a great question. I think because so often it's like every day you're moving forward. You're trying to provide value to your clients. You're trying to go after other clients. You're trying to go after new opportunities. That sometimes you don't even sit there and realize, like, even from a smaller accomplishment standpoint, just minor things that go a long way for guys, whether not only just from a deal perspective, but, for what I do for my guys, but being able to set them up with different opportunities that they were looking for, like getting a client when we first started courtside to an NBA finals game and getting it for free because of my relationships and knowing, like, what, that's the real deal. That's not only value to but like, that's a big look. Or being able to be in a room with high level corporate business, businessmen who offer different things, or a lot of these things I can reflect from like last summer, late in last spring, and being able to look at it and be like, what? Even though it didn't bring the company, a $20,000 commission, it's a big time move for the client. It's a big time opportunity. It's a big door I just opened for a client. And also, signing other guys. I think when I left my old company and I had certain clients join me, I had so much respect for those guys because it showed they believed in me. And that's why, to me, from a relationship standpoint, I do anything for my guys, because the guys who left and voluntarily left and wanted to join me in what I was doing and believing in what I was building and believing in who I was as a person and as a manager and as a rep, it showed me a lot. And it also gave me the confidence to be like, you know what, just because I'm starting this company off from ground up, I'm still a big deal. And as much as you always want to remain humble, and that's essential, you do need confidence in this game.
You have to have confidence.
You have to have it in this game, or else you get chewed up. And I think I was able to elevate my confidence, my persona, and what I was trying to do in a pretty quick and effective manner.
Well, and I think the other side of that, within sales, I firmly believe that people buy from people that they believe in, they trust, and they like.
No question.
So obviously, some of these guys that moved over with you, they weren't sold on necessarily services you were providing.
Right.
It was more on, they were sold on
me as
Maxx.
Me as a human. And that essential.
And that carries over.
Really has carried over. And I think it also has strengthened the relationships that I had with those guys, as well as, a different approach that I've taken when signing new guys. And beyond just signing guys, it's, I think a big thing for me, and what I'm so excited about, and I think what's been so unique, is it's not only what I'm doing for our clients, but it's the opportunities we've had with other athletes, whether they're rep by other people, or just in the relationships we have with brands, businesses, business owners, whatever the case is going to be. We've been able to bring unique high-level opportunities to other talent. So from a standpoint of where the company is, where the company has grown, and you view it like, wow, we're doing these sort of deals for these sort of people. It's exciting. And again, I don't devalue any of my clients, no matter who they are, no matter where they stand on an NFL roster. But at the same time, yes, from a realistic perspective, of course, there's certain names that are just going to be bigger and more attractive than others for opportunities. And I think being able to say we've done deals or formulated deals with certain guys, it's pretty remarkable in a 15 to 18 month period.
Yeah. And it seems like it's just beginning when you sign a guy.
Right.
Right. That's not the end goal. Right.
And the one thing I always say, and the one thing I always learn, when you sign the guy, it's great. Be happy.
But now the real work is beginning.
Correct. Because it's not signing, it's maintaining. It's maintaining these guys. And that's why on a daily basis, what value am I providing that other people are not? And that's why another thing is, I think the general, the whole marketing, we'll say landscape has really shifted in my eyes. Because if you're just offering marketing endorsements to me, you got to really be targeting high level athletes because of the sort of time that it goes in and what you can earn. But it's more so offering other services that are invaluable, more indisposable to others than what your competitors are offering. So for us, being able to handle more for our clients than just marketing endorsements is also a big reason I think we've been able to enhance our business in such a timely manner.
What keeps you up at night for your business?
Maybe not accomplishing thing. Maybe it's not being able to. It's a unique question. I want to answer it the right way. I think what may keep me up at night sometimes is, again, we have such a versatile list of guys. We really do, and there's always competition out there, right? There's always going to be somebody who has other relationships. There's always going to be somebody that has a bigger name client than you. I think for me, it's the fact that I have so much and I can bring so much. And it's like, when you land that blue chip guy and you land that talent that changes the game. And again, like I said to you, from a perspective of my current clients, I can name every single one of them and I love them all and I would do anything for them. And they know I bust my tush every day to enhance their off the field career. But at the same time, realistically, when you land a certain caliber player and you're able to bring certain level of opportunities to that guy, like anything else, it changes the perspective. And I think for me, having certain relationships that it's like, hey, if I had this guy, or I had this, this level of a guy, what I can do for my business. And again, what that does, I think it benefits my entire clientele, because if you're able to bring player X, an opportunity, and you start building a relationship, like that company is going to let you bring in maybe some pieces they don't view as substantial, but guys that are growing into their own, guys that could get to that level. And that's why, to me, the relationships are so key across the board, no matter where it is in the business, whether it's on, like I said, the marketing side, endorsement, on the media PR side, on the, on the business venture side, and making sure that top to bottom, some of these financial advisors that I do business with, and that I have set my clients up with, and the doors they've opened from other businesses. And it's like anything else. It's a snowball effect.
Of course. And all boats rise with a high tide. So well that is applicable for your standpoint as well. What about you mentioned your dad was a mentor, and you had some other guys. So are there any type of words of wisdom, phrases, mottos, quotes, or just life advice that you've been able to lean on throughout your life and early on in this career of building a company?
Yeah, I don't know if there's so much. Definitely quotes and things that I've really taken a hold to, and obviously, and a lot of it's like humanity 101 and common sense wise. Like, don't talk too much. You got to listen. You got to take in information. Don't be the smartest guy in the room. You don't need to be. You offer your opinion, you offer your value, but you don't need to be the smartest guy in the room. Obviously, I'm big. I'm very, very big when it comes to mannerisms and mutual respect. Giving people the time of day, no matter who it is, even if it's something like, even when I get inquiries that may not be anything remotely that is going to happen, it's still taking time to answer emails so people don't feel slighted, and don't sit there and say, you know what, I sent Maxx Management an email for a client and he never got back to me, and that guy in that company, screw them. So I think it's being able to do things the right way. And like I said, even when I'm doing deals for other talent, or opportunities come to me for other talent, it's, again, doing it the right way. Instead of going behind a representative's back, I want to go through their rep. I want to build, mutually beneficial relationships with those guys. And that's how you sustain a book of business. And from a standpoint of other mentors and from that sales side, it was something where you learn how to talk, you learn how to conduct yourself. And even for me, being around it, there was just certain people that I really paid attention to. I'm like, wow, this guy maneuvers the right way. This guy knows how to carry himself. He goes in front of somebody, he knows how to finesse, he knows how to take care of things. And that's why for me, relationships are everything. And a lot of people joke around like I have a guy, a relationship, or a plug, or a finesse for everything in life, because I've been able to handle and conduct myself in the right way, where I think people are open and happy to, have a relationship with me or do business with me.
And you've been around sports, as we've talked about, of course, your whole life. Why do you think people gravitate towards sports and just value sports so much, especially in America? Yeah,
I think especially football firsthand. Yes. I think the NFL, that's why when a lot of people are like, oh, the NFL is going downhill, it's not remotely. It's still America's sport. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. I think there's just a persona, and even guys that are, a lot of times you see financial advisors or financial institutions activating sports talent to have them come around and be a part of parties and events. And a lot of these people just thoroughly enjoy being around athletes. Obviously musicians and entertainers are incredible. Everybody's got their own unique twist to it, but there's just something about NFL, sports athletes in general. It's not just, it's all the major sports. Obviously, I think, the NFL more so than anything else, gives them a rush, gives them something, makes them feel more important, makes them feel higher level, makes them feel a sense of, I guess a sense of unique charisma that they're around these sort of people.
Yeah. And it's people that they admire just from what they can do on an athletic field or a court.
And that's why, like I said, even from a standpoint of my business, I love watching these guys. They're freak athletes. It's like, damn, how in God's name are you able to do some of these things? Like, how do you run like that? How do you catch like that? How do you tackle like that? How do you, watching, even I remember I had one of my guys here about a month ago. We were out and we were just chopping it up about, X's and O's. And a lot of times I don't love doing that because it's so cookie cutter. A lot of questions they get asked, but yeah, certain guys, when you got a certain, maybe a certain question in mind and hearing it from them and kind of breaking that down and being able to see, what they see on the field, it's like, wow, that's cool.
It's because it's completely different from their vision.
No question.
Right.
Compared to a fan standpoint.
Well, Max, I think it's fascinating just seeing something being built. Obviously, I have a similar type of feeling just in terms of this podcast. Started 2 years ago.
Which is incredible. The fact that you've had 111 guests, now 112.
That's right, with
112. I love it. It's in 2 years is remarkable. And especially, again, the sort of guys you've had on the podcast. And I think what you have done with it, what you've explained to me and kind of the differentiating factors of that is something that to me it's undeniable. It's amazing. And that's why I think you and I are really on the same page, speak the same language. I
greatly appreciate that. And I definitely feel that we have a lot of the same values and wanting to build legacies.
No question.
And that's part of
important.
It. And I greatly appreciate you letting me be a part of this journey of yours. So thank you
so
for your
much.
time.
And I'm looking forward to growing with you.
Beautiful.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.